Hello, I'm Zion Sims, and today we're going to have a talk about Pearl Primus. Some of you might know the name, many of you probably don't. I didn't before I began, and that's okay. We're all here to learn. She was the first black modern dancer and one of the first black choreographers. She was a pioneer of modern African American dance. Primus was born in Port of Spain, Trinidad on November 29, 1919. Her family moved to New York City when she was 2, but relatives kept the memories of her West Indian and African roots alive to her, turning them into stories that laid a foundation for the art she would create later on in her life. She excelled both academically and athletically in her younger years. She was put in an exceptionally gifted program in high school and graduated with a degree in biology and pre-medical science in 1940 from Hunter's College. Later on, she got a master's in psychology from the same school. Primus was unable to find laboratory jobs available to African Americans due to racial discrimination, so she applied to the National Youth Administration, which put her in the new dance group studio. They gave her a job working backstage in the wardrobe department for America Dances, and once a spot became available for a dancer, she was hired as an understudy. Her promise as a dancer was recognized quickly, and she received a scholarship from the new dance group in 1941. Their motto, "Dance is a Weapon," encapsulated the idea that dance performance should be much more than art for art's sake. They trained their dancers, like Primus, to be aware of the political and social climate of their time. Primus explored African culture and dance by consulting family, books, articles, pictures, and museums. After months of research, she was led to finish her first major composition entitled African Ceremonial in 1943. African Ceremonial is based on a legend from the Belgian Congo about a priest who performed a fertility ritual until he collapsed and vanished. After gaining much praise, Primus's next performances began in April of the same year as an entertainer at the famous racially integrated nightclub Cafe Society downtown. Strange Fruit debuted in 1943 and was based on a poem by Lewis Allen about a lynching. We are shown the reaction of a lynch mob member after witnessing said lynching. Primus depicts the aftermath of it through the woman's remorse after she's realized the horrible nature of the act. Primus spent the summer of 1944 traveling through several southern states, observing and participating in the lives of impoverished black farm workers and attending their church services and social gatherings. This inspired Hard Time Blues and its focus on the plight of Southern sharecroppers. Primus made her Broadway debut on October 4th, 1944, performing Negro Speaks of Rivers, based on the Langston Hughes poem. Primus saw it as an evocation of the beginning of agriculture, of the Ulysses, the building of kingdoms in the Nile, the forced labor to build the pyramids, and the frustration under slavery. In 1946, Primus was invited to return to Broadway and appear in the revival production of Showboat. She was then asked to choreograph a Broadway production called Caribbean Carnival, and she also appeared in the 1947 revival of The Emperor Jones. In December of 1943, the Primus Company was formed and they began touring in 1947. Primus performed at Fisk University in 1948, where she received funding to conduct an 18-month research and study tour of the Gold Coast, Cameroons, Liberia, and the Belgian Congo. Fanga is described as a dance of welcome from Liberia and was introduced to the States by Pearl Primus. She chose to stylize and showcase African dance traditions by framing the dance as a symbolic act, everyday practice, and a ceremony. It was then further popularized by her students, sisters Marilee and Joan Derby. In 1979, she and her husband founded the Pearl Primus Dance Language Institute in New York, where they offered classes that blended African American, Caribbean, and African dance forms with modern dance and ballet techniques. She later received a master's degree in education at New York University and opened her own school called the Primus Board School of Primal Dance in New York City. In 1991, President George Bush honored Primus with the National Medal of Arts. Primus was best known for her primitive dances. She was framed for her energy and her physical daring. Dance critics praised her movements as forceful yet dramatic, and graceful and deliberately controlled. Primus fused spirituals, jazz, and blues, and then paired these music forms with literary works of Black writers of the time. Her choreography resonated primarily for and to the Black community. Her endeavors in the political and social change made her arguably one of the most political choreographers of her time. Her athleticism made her choreography breathtaking. She carried intensity and displayed passion while simultaneously bringing awareness to social issues. Her work was also reimagined and recycled into different versions by many contemporary artists. Primus's choreography, which included bent knees, the isolation and articulation of body parts, and rhythmically percussive movements, can be observed in the movement of Joel Willa Joel Zalar. I butchered that. That's okay. These similarities show that Primus's style, themes, and body type promoted the display of Black culture within the dance community. Pearl Primus took an art form that is usually seen as soft and light and made it her own and used it to discover herself and cope with some of the hardest pains a person can feel, like discrimination and exclusion. She made sure the world looked at her, and she made damn well sure that she'd be remembered. Used dance as a weapon, and that's pretty badass. And would you look at that? You made it to the end. Here's some sources. Thank you all for listening or for ignoring me and sitting nice and quiet. This is a really interesting topic to cover, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you.